It's 10 a.m. and I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Board of Directors on Friday, November 15th, 2024. Please note this meeting is being recorded, and thank you to everyone joining us today in person and through the audio option. Madam Secretary, call please.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Starting with Director Conroy is absent. Dorsey is absent. Engardio.
Present.
Garbarino.
Here.
Giudice.
Here.
Roseville.
Here.
Hernandez.
Here.
Maston.
Here.
Holden Peters is absent. Parr.
Present.
Rodoni.
Here.
Safai. Absent. Snyder is absent. Stephanie.
Here.
Terrio.
Here.
Here. Second Vice President Rabbit.
Here.
First Vice President Hill.
Here.
And President Cochran.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. As a reminder, please be sure to turn on your mic when we open up for director's discussion so everyone can hear. Please raise your hand and the secretary or I will call upon you accordingly. If we miss your raised hand, please speak up. Follow up any discussion, we will take the appropriate vote. Please follow along by referring to the page number located at the bottom right-hand corner of the meeting packet. Since Director, maybe I'll ask Director Maston, please, I'd like to leave.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you, Director Maston. Madam Secretary, would you please continue with the next item on the roll?
Thank you. We're going to move into agenda item 4, which is public comment for any of the items on today's agenda, except for item 6B to A, which will be a recommendation from today's closed session. If you wish to speak to an item on our agenda, please speak to it now. We'll start with those attending our board meeting today in person, and then we will move to those online. So in the room, I'd like to invite Mr. Rohde, if you could join us at the end of the table.
Good morning. My name is Dave Rohde. I'm the San Francisco Policy Co-Chair for the Climate Reality Project. Like me, I'm sure many of you are still processing your reaction to the presidential election. Though I have a host of other concerns, a president that refers to the climate crisis as a hoax and is already planning to gut the EPA is extremely alarming. It's clear that the federal government is not likely to play a supportive role in public transit. I have confidence that this board and district management are already sizing up the new landscape and preparing accordingly. Just as Governor Newsom is working to Trump-proof California, local and regional authorities like you need to take even more responsibility for continuing our progress in climate mitigation. Passage of Proposition 4 underscores Californians' commitment to climate action. But while the $10 billion bond measure that addresses wildfires, flooding, and extreme heat and benefits communities that are most affected by climate catastrophes, it's mostly focused on resilience, not mitigation. Don't get me wrong, Proposition 4 is a very important climate bill, but climate mitigation is the other half of the equation, and that's where you come in. I want to urge you again to add a sustainability manager to your staff, someone responsible for planning out the steps you've outlined in the district's new strategic plan initiative, someone who will identify steps you can take to decrease your carbon footprint, everything from transitioning maintenance and security vehicles to electric, to finding ways to decarbonizing your buildings, to adding even more solar and reducing waste. Most large businesses and municipalities in the Bay Area have sustainability directors on their staff. I don't believe your climate action plan will gain much momentum without one. But I also like to revisit your ongoing commitment to biofuel. I know you're following state guidelines dictated by the California Air Resources Board. CARB just approved new amendments to their low carbon fuel standard, and it's already drawing huge criticism. The goal of the LCFS is to lower carbon intensity of California vehicles. But the reality is that 80% of LCFS funding, roughly $22 billion a year, is going to biofuel incentives rather than electric vehicles. Former state senator Dean Flores said that car policies are, quote, enabling practices that actually increase pollution, undermining the very goals the fuel standard aims to achieve. The small reduction in tailpipe emissions achieved by biofuels is far outweighed by the CO2 emissions from planting, fertilizing, harvesting, transporting, and refining biofuels. More on that later, but I want to take the opportunity to congratulate Director Stephanie for being elected to the California State Assembly in District 19. And thank you, Assembly Member Stephanie, for taking the No Fossil Fuel pledge. I look forward to supporting your work. And a high five to Director Engardio on Proposition K. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, David.
We have no speakers in the room. Justine, I'm going to turn it over to you. If you have any speakers on the public line.
Thank you so much. I did not have any speakers on the public line when we first started the meeting. I would like to poll if you would allow me to. That would be great.
Sure.
Okay, great. If you'd like to speak at the board meeting this morning, please use ** to unmute yourself and let me know. Again, if you'd like to speak at the board meeting this morning, please press ** on your phone to unmute yourself and let me know. President Cochran, Madam Secretary, I'm not hearing anybody on the line. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And thank you, David, again, for your comments. This concludes our public comment for the items on today's agenda, except for item 6B2A. We're going to move on to item number 5 to approve the consent agenda, which was sent via email to board members on Tuesday and posted online. Before we take a vote, are there any questions from the board members on the consent calendar? If not, I'd like a motion for this item.
So moved, Rep.
Second. First and second. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Let the record show that the opposition, that there's no opposition and the motion passes. Moving on to item 6A, which is the report from the General Manager. Dennis, please proceed with the report.
Thank you, President Cochran, members of the board, members of the public and staff. My written report is before you. I'll just highlight 2 items. One is that travel in the Golden Gate corridor is still well below pre-pandemic levels, particularly commute travel via bridge, bus, and boat. Folks are still choosing not to travel from the North Bay to San Francisco for traditional office settings at the same level, and that does affect our finances. We continue to see slow, steady growth up, but we have a long ways to go, and it's important that we always remind ourselves of that. With respect to the speaker, at the prior meeting, we had our Governmental Affairs and Public Information Committee meeting. I did speak to the challenges facing the district with respect to the changing landscape in Washington, D.C., and how it affects various initiatives, including issues that you're very passionate about and that you advocate to us every month, and we appreciate your advocacy. The second thing, though, is always the best thing, and that is employee recognition. And we'll do it a little different this month. I'll ask our bus manager, Les Belton, and ATU Local 1575 President Shane Weinstein to escort our bus operator, Michael Dominicelli, to the front of the room. Michael's a man of few words, so we need to have reinforcements. He's selected by his colleagues because of who he is as a person, his dedication to making his colleagues and coworkers feel happy. I think Shane wants to say a few words. I'll let him say some things I was planning on saying.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. Mike is very boisterous at work, but I know that he was going to be a man of few words once he got up here. And the reason that I do know that is because we were in the same class together in January of 2011. And since then, all he does is bring a great work ethic to this bridge district. And at the same time, the reason why he's getting this is because he was feeding people. He was looking out for people. Not anything that was really doing with his job, but that's the type of person that Mike is. And since I knew he wasn't going to get up here and say anything about himself, I decided to do so. Worth all the acknowledgement, Mike. You deserve this.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Don't want to say anything else. And for the record, on his day off, he comes in with his pizza oven and cooks food for his coworkers. Can't beat that. I've done a lot of pizza. A lot of pizza. I guess I just went a little
That way a little bit.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Take care.
Congratulations.
That concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Dennis. We'll move on to item 6B, which is the attorney's report. And we'll turn things over to Kim Manolis for his report. Kim?
Thanks, President Cochran. My written report for you. I'm happy to take any questions on that. A couple of other items. We're going to do a closed session for the appointment of a new officer. We'll do that at the end of the meeting. And I did want to report the settlement of the suicide deterrent litigation that you all heard so much about over such a long period of time. So the terms are as follows. That settlement contemplates a $97 million payment to SDJV. $25 million of that has already been paid, and the rest will be paid before the end of the year. Second, the settlement is being done by change order, and the installation of a permanent maintenance travelers has been deleted from the scope of the work. And the change order amount when accounting for the $97 million payment less the reduction in scope is then $91,032,600. Thus, that is the amount that the project budget is being increased. So the budget increase is $91,032,600. And finally, the contract completion time has been adjusted. The field work will be completed by the end of 2025, and the whole project should be completed by December 1, 2026. I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions of Kim? If not, thank you, Kim. We'll move on to item 6C, which is a report of the district engineer. As a reminder, the engineer's report can be found in the Building and Operating Committee's B package as agenda item number 5. And John Everly is here to present his report. John, please proceed.
Good morning, President Cochran, members of the board. As stated, the written reports in the package. A couple of items to highlight at our Sommerfeld bus facility. We've reached a milestone where we paved the majority of the bus employee parking lot before the heavy winter rains approach. So that's good news. They're continuing with utilities and other aspects of the solar panel portion of that project. Also wanted to note, you'll see in the report that we are doing wind tunnel testing at our consultant's facility in Canada on the suspension bridge. We're trying to optimize. We're working on the CMGC project, and the contractor is requesting additional areas to be tarped for painting operations on that project. So we're trying to optimize their request, and testing is being performed this week. We sent one staff up there to observe that, and we'll get the reports back in about a couple weeks or so. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Are there any questions to John? If not, John, thank you. And we'll continue on with item 8A on the agenda, which is a report from yesterday's Transportation Committee meeting. Chair Hill, please begin your report.
Thank you, President Cochran. The Transportation Committee recommends approval of item number 8.A1, which approves updates to the Agency Safety Plan, Revision 4.0, dated November 2024, for Golden Gate Transit in compliance with the Federal Transit Administration's Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan. rule, excuse me, as detailed in the staff report, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Consider a second to the motion. Are there any questions related to this item? None. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Let the record show there is no opposition and the motion passes. Chair Hill, do you have anything further to report?
Mr. President, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Continue with item 8B on the agenda, which is a report from yesterday's Building and Operating Committee meeting. Chair Garbarino, please begin your committee's report to the board.
Thank you, President Cochran. The Building and Operating Committee recommends approval of item number 8B1, which is to approve award of contract number 2024D031, bus pivot on-site medical trailer to Mobile Modular of Livermore, California, in the amount of $380,505, as detailed in the staff report, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
That's motion made and seconded. Any questions on the item? If not, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Let the record show there is no opposition. The motion passes. Chair Garbarino, do you have anything further to report?
Mr. President, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Now, let's move on to item 8C on the agenda, which is the report of yesterday's Finance and Auditing Committee meeting. Chair Rabbit, please begin your committee report to the board.
Thank you, President Cochran. The Finance Auditing Committee recommends approval of item 8C1 to authorize the use of authorize the lease of 4 buses to Napa Valley Transportation Authority and grant the general manager authority to enter similar leases with other public transit agencies as detailed in the staff report, and I so move.
Second.
That's been moved and seconded. Thank you. Are there any questions of the item? If not, all those in favor.
Oops, we got a question.
I just wanted to say the committee yesterday was very excited to help out the city of Napa. So thank you.
And the city of Napa was very appreciative.
It's been moved and seconded. And no other questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Seeing none, there's no opposition. The motion passes. Chair Rabbit, please continue with your report.
Thank you again, President Cochran. The committee also recommends approval of item 8C2, which is to receive the independent auditor's financial reports as submitted by Eide Bailly LLP for the annual comprehensive financial report for the year ending June 30th, 2024, and receive the independent auditor's communication letter regarding matters related to the audit as detailed in the staff report, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions related to this item? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Let the record show there's no opposition and the motion passed. Chair Rabbit, please continue with your report.
Thank you. The last item for recommendation is the approval of item 8C3, which is to receive the annual report of the OPEB Retirement Investment Trust Board as detailed in the staff report. And again, I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions related to this item? Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Opposition. Let the motion pass. Chair Rabbit, do you have anything further to report?
That concludes my report.
Thank you. Continuing with item 8D, on the agenda is the report from yesterday's Rules, Policy, and Industrial Relations Committee meeting. Chair Hernandez, please begin your committee report to the board.
Thank you, President Cochran. The Rules, Policy, and Industrial Relations Committee recommends the approval of item 8D1, which will approve a professional development program for non-represented job classifications, and have the general manager implement the program in accordance with the guidelines as detailed and discussed in the staff report, with the understanding that this action will not increase the number of positions in the district, but is intended to provide ladders of growth and opportunity for staff. And I so move.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Are there any questions of the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Seeing none, the motion passes. Continuing on with item 8F, which is Government Affairs and Public Information Committee meeting. Chair Snyder, are you going to give to Chair?
Yeah.
To Chair? Oh, you got it? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, President Cochran. The Government Relations Affairs and Public Information Committee recommends the approval of item 8E1 to approve the implementation of the district's 2025 legislative platform presented by the staff and attached to the staff report, and I so move.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions related to this item? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Let the record show that there's no opposition. The motion passes.
Thank you, Gerard. You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on, we have nothing under item 9, so we'll move on. Item 10A, special business, which is the approval of the 2025 Golden Gate Bridge Highway Transportation District Board of Directors meeting schedule. And our Madam Secretary is here to present the report. Madam Secretary.
Thank you. My brief report is in front of you, and this is just an outline of the 2025 meetings. We've gone through the calendar. They predominantly fall on the 4th week of each month, except for November and December, where the holidays always throw us off, and it ends up on the 3rd week. So it's before you for approval, but we also have noted that the OPEB meetings for March and October are on the calendar for March 27th and October 23rd, immediately following the finance meetings. So I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Madam Secretary, for your report. Are there any questions or comments from the directors on item 8A or 10A? Excuse me. That includes that concludes the discussion that was done. May I have a motion to approve the item 10A?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? If none, let the record show opposition. And the motion passes. Thank you. Item 11 is unfinished business that I will turn over to Kim again for a closed session. Kim, please take us into closed session.
Thanks, President Cochran. At this time, the board will go into closed session as listed on the agenda to discuss the appointment of a new officer pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B1. And that officer will be auditor controller.
Thank you for your patience, everybody, while we're in closed session this morning. Please remember to keep your own phones on mute.
Yes.
We're good. We're back in open session.
And I think there's one washout. Just by a little bit.
Okay.
Maybe we got Jackie in.
Kim, would you?
The board met in closed session to discuss the appointment of an officer pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B1 and had a good discussion. And now we're in open session. So what's on the table for this board is the following. Whether to approve the appointment to the Office of Auditor Controller for Jennifer Sue Lynn Minucci at a salary of $319,012.88 with a deferred compensation contribution every year of $9,000 with a start date of November 18th, and it's for a 5-year contract. So that's what's before you.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second.
And second. On the question. Okay, may I have a vote of all those in favor? Oh, public comment. Is there any public comment?
There's no one in the room.
Oh.
If there's any public comment on this item for anyone in the room. If not, we do need to poll the public comment line one more time, just to make sure. So Justine, can you hold the public comment line on this item?
Certainly. Is there anyone that would like to comment on this item? Please use ** to unmute yourself and let me know. I'm not hearing anybody. Thank you.
Okay, now, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. That's passes.
Congratulations.
Yes. Jennifer, you want to say anything? I'm sure she will have. Okay. We'll continue on. We have nothing under items 12 and 13. We have now reached the end of our agenda, and there are no further items to be presented to the board. I have a motion to adjourn this meeting. Second? Okay. Thank you, colleagues. Let us adjourn this meeting with a moment of silence for retired Auditor Controller John J. Quigley and Janet Blombaugh. Please. Okay. Thank you all. The meeting